All right, so yesterday we were reading. They were on their way to Birmingham. Who are they going to see again in Birmingham? Grandma who? Grandma in Birmingham, but what was the grandmother's name? Who remembers? Grandma Sands. Remember Sands, like the sand at the beach. Grandma Sands. Okay, now what did Byron say he was going to do in the car?
Not talk.
Not talk. Did he talk?
Yes.
Yes, he didn't last very long, did he? He didn't last very long at all. All right. Tangled up in God's beard. This is chapter 10. Ohio, about 1 minute away. This was the first interesting thing that Mama had come up with since we'd been through Detroit, just outside of Toledo. We pulled over at a rest stop. So, you may have a connection here. You may have been on a trip where you stopped at a rest stop. Could have been on a trip where your mom or dad or grandmother or whoever told you interesting facts that you didn't really care about. You didn't think they were interesting to you, although they were interesting to them, right? So those are some possible connections you could have had. Mama said, okay, who's got to go to the bathroom? Who's hungry? We got out of the car and started scratching and stretching. How many of you have been on a trip? You get out and you're like, oh, it feels so good. I can't walk. Yeah, so a lot of people. The Ohio rest stop was really cool. It was chopped right out of the forest and had picnic tables made out of giant logs. The bathrooms were made out of the same kind of log cabin wood. The only thing about them was that they looked kind of small from the outside. Oh, I'm sorry. I do not. Okay. Thank you, Paige. Mama looked in her Watsons Go to Birmingham 1963 book and told us, okay, just a sandwich, some fruit, and some Kool-Aid here. Daniel, could you open the trunk so I can get the things out of the cooler? Well, Mama got the food and Dad looked under the hood of the brown bomber. I went to the door in the little log cabin that had men carved on it. As soon as I opened the door, I gagged. The toilets in Ohio weren't anything like Michigan toilets. Instead of a white stool with a seat, there was just a seat on a piece of wood with a great big open black hole underneath, with the sound of flies coming out of it. No flusher, no water, no nothing. What does that remind you of? A porta potty. Mm-hmm. It looked like that if you sat on the seat, you might end up getting sucked down under Ohio somewhere. I breathed through my mouth and spent only enough time in that log cabin to grab me some toilet paper. The woods outside looked like a whole lot better bathroom. When I was done in the woods, I passed Byron, who forgot again about his promise not to talk. He told me, man, they must be crazy if they think I'm going to set my behind on that hole. By's hands was full of toilet paper, too. We ate our lunch on one of the picnic tables, and Mama made a jug of Kool-Aid with water that me and Joey pumped. Only Mama liked it, though. The water seemed like it had metal in it and made the Kool-Aid taste like grape medicine. Have you ever noticed that, like, if you're in Gulfport, the water tastes one way? If you're in Long Beach or Bay St. Louis, it tastes different ways.
Yeah.
Or if you go to your grandparents out in the country or somewhere, family, it tastes a different way.
I've been to Tennessee after being in Florida, and I went to Tennessee, and the water tasted completely different.
The water tastes very different. And then if people have wells, it tastes different. Yes. Me, Dad, Bi, and Joey dumped our Kool-Aid when Mama wasn't looking. But I had to ask for seconds and plug my nose and drink it because day one was my day to have peanut butter and jelly. Excuse me. And Mama always puts too much peanut butter on the sandwich. And you've got to have something to wash it down in case you start choking. When we finished eating, Byron asked, "What's the word on them toilets?" Mama and Dad cracked up. "So, you like those, huh?" Dad said. Mama said, you better get used to those, Byron. There's an outhouse, and that's what Grandma Sands has. What? If you are trying to be cool all the time and something surprises you, you sure do look stupid. Uh-huh, Dad said. That's where you're going to be taking care of your business for quite a while. But I said, wait, let me dig this. You mean if I gotta go to the bathroom, I got to go outside into a large, nasty thing like that? Ain't they got no sanitation laws down there? How you gonna have a hole for a toilet and not get folks sick? Don't them things attract flies? Mama and Dad laughed again. Mama said, your Grandma Sands always says it seems a lot nastier to her to be doing that in the home. The way she looks at it at the house is a whole lot nicer place if the facilities are outside. Oh, I remember those outhouses. I remember personally my grandmother had an outhouse. She also had a bathroom inside, but there was an outhouse, and we just thought it was cool. We didn't really use it, but it was from back, I guess, when they did use it. Dad said, I remember when we used to go visit my grandmother's in the country, and there would be a Sears catalog in the outhouse, and when you were done, you just tore a page out of that catalog, and so now we don't get catalogs in the mail like we used to. It used to be a big deal, like around Christmas time. You would get a Penny's catalog and a Sears catalog, and they would have the Christmas catalog full of toys. You couldn't wait to get it. But now you don't get them so much because why? Why don't we get them? The internet. You can just look on the internet and find anything you want to. So there's no reason for them to send out catalogs anymore. Okay. We get the point, Daniel. Mama stopped Dad after lunch. Bob went back into the log cabin outhouse and came back with his pockets bulging with toilet paper. He told me, man, they must be on dope if they think I'm going to wipe my butt on some rough old catalog paper. We loaded the cooler back in the car and got back on I-75. When you're 10 years old like me, some of the time, no matter how excited you are, or no matter how hard you try, you just can't help falling asleep in the car. I did a lot better than Joey, though. She was out before I'd even sucked all the leftover peanut butter out of my teeth. She stretched out across the back seat, and me and Bob argued about who would hold her head and who would hold her feet. Joey drooled a lot, so it was the worst job to hold her head. We had teased Mama so many times about planning everything so much in her notebook that Bob decided to be cute and asked, could someone check that Watsons Go to Birmingham book and see who's supposed to be holding Joey's leaking head for the first 100 miles in Ohio? Mama and Dad looked at each other and laughed, and I did too. I really don't know why bullies have such a good sense of humor. It didn't matter who won the argument, 'cause the car started rocking me to sleep. Maybe someone could say the brown bomber was old and ugly, but you could never say anything bad about its seats. They were the best things in the world. I leaned my head back and watched Ohio go zipping by. I couldn't keep my head from sinking deeper and deeper into the brown bomber seat. I woke up and got real nervous real fast. I felt something wet in my pants. Started to run down my leg. I opened my eyes and said, whew! It was just Joey drooling all over me. I complained and Mama made Bi take Joey's head for a while. I took her shoes off of her, and inside one of her shoes was a kind of worn down picture. A little white boy with a little girl's hairdo and smiling, and a circle around both of them, and it said Buster Brown. That was actually the name of the shoe, Buster Brown, like you have Nike, Adidas, or whatever you have. So, and that was the symbol. Those were really, I can remember those shoes. As I drifted back to sleep, I wondered why a little white boy would think what he would think if he knew he was getting stepped on every day by my sister. Then my neck got rubberized again, and my head nodded down. It nodded back, and when I heard Mama say real soft to Dad, "How you doing? Cincinnati's just ahead." "Oh, I'm fine. I'm fine. I've still got a lot of time in me. I think I'll just stop in Cincy for a stretch and some gas." "Really?" Mama didn't sound too happy. "Sure, why not? The kids are all asleep, and you look like you were about gone yourself." Mama didn't say anything, but I knew she'd have to change her plans if we didn't stop for the night in Cincinnati. Dad kept trying to make it seem okay. He smiled and said, "Don't worry, Willona. We might as well go just a little further." I wanted to lean up and whisper to Mama that I knew what Dad was planning. But the last time I was asleep, Byron had put Joey's head back in the lap and was too lazy to move her. But I knew if I wasn't so sleepy, I could tell Mama what I'd heard and Mr. Johnson was saying before we left. Mr. Johnson knew a lot about cars, and Dad asked him to take a good look at the bomber before we went to Alabama. I was sitting in the car pretending I was driving, and Dad and Mr. Johnson were under the hood. "Oh, yeah, Daniel, this baby's sound as a dollar." "Well, let me ask you something, Theo," Dad had said. "Do you think she could run all the way to Alabama straight?" Mr. Johnson thought for a minute. "I don't see why not. As long as you keep your eye on the oil and the water, it shouldn't give you a lick of trouble. The question isn't the car. The question is, could you do it straight?" "Well, the most I've done before is 8 hours, and Willona says this will take about 15. But I've talked to some people in the shop, and they say it shouldn't be too tough. A couple of them are from Texas, and they say they've driven straight through. Alabama's closer, so why not? This Plymouth can do it if you can, Daniel." "Good. Besides, think of the money we'll save. I'm going to give it a shot. But I'm not going to tell Willona. She would die. She's got this whole trip planned down to the last minute." Dad made his voice go kind of high and southern, and Daniel, between Lexington and Chattanooga, you will inhale 105,564 times, and you'll blink 436,475 times. That is, of course, unless you see something exciting, in which case you'll inhale 123,876 times and blink 437,098 times. Dad and Mr. Johnson cracked up. "So what were they doing to Mom when they were saying all that stuff? What were they doing to the mom?"
Teasing her.
"What?"
Teasing.
"They were teasing. They were kind of making fun of her for having this trip all planned out to the T. Right? So they were pretty much making fun of her."